troublemaker.
You should already know when I walk in the door that it ain't no use in frontin' on me. I'm a hustle, I'ma do my thing. You already know what it's gonna be. I keep hustling, I keep hustling, I keep hustling, I keep hustling. And if you feel me, put your hands up and come and sing the hustler's anthem with me.
Hey there, Trouble Takers. For this episode, we're going to talk about the second most important thing to playing AC multiplayer like a boss: identifying your targets and pursuers. Newer players often have problems with this, and it's really easy to spot them, but it's also really easy to fool them. And I've, had a lot of people say, "How'd you know it was me?" Or say, "You're hacking." But no, we're not hacking, we're not cheating. There are a lot of ways to tell if it's your pursuer or your target. Some of them are really subtle, and you don't really figure it out on your own until you've been playing the game for a really long time. Some of them are completely obvious. The things we're going to go over: high profile, lookalikes, line of sight, using abilities, luring or baiting. Lastly, and arguably the most important thing to understand, game mechanics. So let's get the obvious stuff out of the way first. High profile. So in the first episode, I talked about not running and the reasons why. This is that same kind of deal. It's really easy to see them. If it's blue, it's your target. If it's red, it's your pursuer. Lock onto them and then try to sneak up on them and stun or kill. It's not rocket science. However, you don't have to run to be shown in high profile. When you make a kill, a stun, or a ground finish, their arrow will come up momentarily above your head. So this is not going to stop people from making that stun or kill. Sometimes it does stop me from making a ground finish if I think my pursuer or my target is near and I'm not really sure where they are. I'll not take that ground finish just because the 50 points for the ground finish is not worth getting killed and having a whole, 10 seconds lost in the game. So there you are, high profile. Now, moving on. This is one of the big hints they give you in the tutorial, if you actually did the tutorial. But your target portrait lights up when there are no obstructions. So this is really helpful in determining who are players and who are NPCs. Using line of sight can help you see through disguises or morph. It'll also help confirm whether or not you're right, so if that target portrait isn't lit up and you're about to kill somebody, don't kill them because it's not your target. Likewise, if there's no other characters around and somebody walks around the corner and all of a sudden your target portrait lights up, now it may not be the character you're looking for, but people use disguises, and that target portrait lighting up is a dead giveaway. Use that in conjunction with listening for heartbeats, and it's really easy to see through this ruse. The other thing to pay attention to here is whether or not the target portrait starts beating. When you're close to them, you'll hear heartbeats, and the closer you are, the louder the heartbeats, but also the more intense the pulsating of the portrait gets. Next on our list is luring and baiting. Well, what's baiting? It's not a worm on a hook. Baiting is manipulating somebody into doing what you want, thinking that they are in control. So you're trying to figure out who your pursuer is, or maybe you even know who your pursuer is. Maybe you're leading them into a trap. Maybe you can't figure out who your pursuer is, and so you walk away from the crowd down an alley just to see if somebody follows you. Now, there are various ways to do this, and if you can actually get them to kill an NPC, this works out great for you because, as we all know, when you kill a civilian, you can't do anything for a certain amount of time. And by them being in this, Assassin's Creed timeout, that gives you the freedom to then, chase them down and stun them, or line up a really great kill that's going to be worth a lot of points. You can take your time with the kill. Tripwire, disguise, bodyguard, and decoy are all really good abilities and perks for this purpose. Tripwire gets sent off whenever a real player walks over it. Now this can be a double-edged sword because it's not just your pursuer or target that will set it off, it's anybody. And so sometimes, especially in a deathmatch, somebody walks by, it sets it off, and then you've wasted your tripwire. With passive abilities like perks, kill streaks, and lost streaks, there are a few things that can help you. For kill streaks, there's Revelation, which makes all of your pursuers red, making them really easy to spot. There's a similar thing for lost bonuses called Vision, where after 5 successive lost targets, it'll make your target blue and give you a little icon so you can see your target through walls.
The opposing team stole your artifact.
Sixth Sense is a little different. So what Sixth Sense does is tell you where your target or pursuer is when they're in high profile, regardless if they're in your line of sight or not. So this will give you at least a direction as to where they're coming from. And this comes in really handy in things like manhunt and artifact assault, since there are no more chases. Now, as with all these abilities and perks, there's a right way and wrong way to use them, but that will be in another episode. Now we're getting to the really good stuff, which is game mechanics. It sounds super nerdy, but this can really make or break your game. Some of them are glaringly obvious, others are a blink and you miss it kind of thing. For those who don't know, game mechanics refers to things that have been programmed into the game. Many of these are the things that react to what you do, so if you move your right joystick, your camera turns. If you hit X, you kill somebody. They also refer to things that have been programmed into the game. So for instance, boss attack patterns, or the amount of time that there's a delay on a swing of a knife, so you know when to time your hits. The game mechanics are things that really great players are cognizant of, and they pay attention and break down so they know how to best leverage them to their benefit. The most obvious of all of these are heartbeats and whispers. So heartbeats and whispers kind of vary from version to version of Assassin's Creed. Some of them are better than others. It's not really supposed to be that way, but it kind of ends up being that way. In Assassin's Creed, for instance, whispers could be a lot better. Sometimes they seem omnipresent and my pursuer's nowhere in sight. Other times there's no whispers at all and my pursuer's been standing right next to me for the last 5 seconds. Heartbeats, on the other hand, are very reliable. So listen for heartbeats. They're going to get louder the closer you get to your target. And using heartbeats in conjunction with line of sight is always my first line of figuring out who my target is. Next on our list of mechanics is the X prompt. So understanding the way the X prompt works can really help you, because X prompts don't display on characters that you can't kill. So if you know for a fact that a character is not an NPC and an X prompt comes above their head, for God's sakes, hit it, because it's either your target or your pursuer. In some modes, like Manhunt for instance, it will not let you kill your lookalikes. So if you're trying to figure out whether or not your pursuer is in disguise and it's your lookalike, it's not them. Next on our list of magical mechanics is NPC behavior. So for those who don't know, NPC stands for non-playing character. Those are the civilians, the characters that don't have somebody controlling them. So when it comes down to it, video games are really just software, and software is programmed to do certain things. It can't do things it's not programmed to do. That said, the NPCs have routes that they walk, they have ways that they turn, they have ways that they take corners, they don't make sharp turns, and there's places where they just don't walk. For instance, if there's a character walking through a stationary blend group, that's not an NPC, that's a player. They don't walk super erratically, they also don't walk super straight. When standing in blend groups, they also stand equal distances from one another. So if you're looking at a blend group and there's somebody standing in between two characters, that's a dead giveaway that it's a player as well. Also, they don't stand in the middle of blend groups. I see that people do this all the time. They either stand right in front of or right behind an NPC in a blend group, and all you're doing is putting a big target on your back. Fast walking is another dead giveaway that it's a player and not an NPC. If you've been paying attention at all, you'll notice that NPCs don't fast walk, they don't run, they walk at a very steady pace. So just kind of take a minute, get in, a private lobby or whatever, and just observe the way the NPCs behave so you can spot somebody not behaving like that. Because disguise or no, there's absolutely no risk in hitting X. Which brings us to our next thing. Take a chance. It's not going to let you kill a player that's not your target. It's also not going to let you stun a player that's not your pursuer. So if you know someone's a player, just hit X. It might work, it might not, but at least you ruled that person out as your pursuer. Let's talk about how to see through things like bodyguard and decoy. Bodyguard and decoy both make noises when they're activated. So when you hear this, you know that there's either a bodyguard or decoy that's been activated. Decoys will run around like maniacs. In Assassin's Creed 3, you were able to kind of craft its behavior. You can't do that in AC4. They won't always look like the character you're looking for. Sometimes they'll actually be in disguise. But if you hear that sound and you see something running around, 9 times out of 10, that's not going to be your target. Your target's going to be someone standing somewhere close. Decoys and bodyguards usually activate from civilians that are standing somewhere near the player that activated them. So look at the direction that the decoy is coming from and kind of just follow the line of sight over there and look for somebody that looks like who you're looking for. With bodyguards, it's a little more tricky. In Assassin's Creed 3, bodyguards couldn't really run after you. In Assassin's Creed 4, they are quick little suckers. If you hear this sound and then you see somebody turn around from the one group, that's probably the bodyguard. It's a little difficult to get away from these things. You can stun bodyguards without losing your contract. If you kill them, obviously you lose your contract. But you can tell which one is the bodyguard, and usually because it uses NPCs and it'll actually turn the NPC into their lookalike 9 times out of 10. Bodyguards 100% of the time. Decoys is 9 times out of 10. Blender, which is another thing to use that people can hide behind. When a civilian changes, if you look at the feet, you'll see this little circle. And that is telling you what characters have just changed their look. I see you. So if you're looking for your target and you see a blend group, you only see one lookalike of the person that you're looking for. However, it's got a little circle underneath its feet. So, okay, there's 2 ways this can go down. One, they can have gone into the blend group and then changed somebody. Then they throw on the disguise. Or it can go down the other way. So if you are wearing disguise and you go into a blend group, at least in AC4, you will turn the person in the blend group the character of your disguise. So it can be kind of tricky. It also only makes a difference if you actually see it happen. But really when you start figuring this stuff out, it's just going to come second nature. You'll be able to look at something happening and be able to read immediately what the truth is. Well, most of the time. I'm still a really experienced player, and even I kill a decoy from time to time. The last game mechanic we're going to talk about, and this is a dirty little secret, I hope competitive players don't get mad at me for giving this one away, but as you turn your camera, your character's head will also move. So if you see somebody in a blend group, and there's 2 lookalikes, one of them's looking around and another's not, chances are that's the person you're looking for. Now, NPCs also look around, so it's not something that you want to rely on entirely, but it is one of those little things that can help you figure out who's who. Well, that's it. These are the ways that we figure out who you are. And if you're a new player hearing some of these things, it's finally starting to make sense, right? Why you're getting killed when you thought you were being so sneaky? Yeah, you're not that sneaky. You need to be able to outwit your opponent. So knowing these things is not going to make you a great player, but using these tips well will. So you have to figure out when to do things, when to give up, when to not get the ground finish, when to give up the stun, where to lure somebody, how to make the most of those abilities and perks. Those are all going to be things that you need to figure out on your own. Nobody can teach you that. Well, I hope that this was informative. And again, I have at least 10 more episodes planned. If there's anything that you guys want to know about, just, hit me up in the comments and I'll try to include that. Likewise, I invite the community to keep me honest. So if there's something that's incorrect in these instructional videos, please let me know and I'll correct it to make sure the knowledge I'm spitting is actually true. Bow chicka bow wow! Trouble out.